think we're on. Hello, hello. I'm here with Nicole. And Nicole is a very busy mom of 3 kids, 4 and under. You can imagine, hands are full, but not only that, she's also entrepreneur, Reiki practitioner at Nicolay Jonsson, and is just has her hands full with managing the kids' big emotions and what she said, kids and husbands, and of course also our own needs. So she's going to talk a little bit about the mini course that she just did, Care Don't Carry, and tell us a little bit how this has helped her manage and set boundaries around all these energies, these demands, and how you're streamlining and managing it. So thank you so much for being here with us.
Thank you
And
for having me.
yeah, so tell the other Gaias and goddesses and people here. She just mentioned Gaia is also one of her big guides. And I'd love to hear a little bit more how your sanctuary, and I'm thinking now also of your beautiful tattoo.
Oh yes, my tree tattoo. So this is my tree tattoo, my inner sanctuary personified. I was, telling you that for me, when I'm having one of those crazy challenging days, I like to put my hand on my heart. So my tree is right next to my heart to remind me to recenter myself and connect with my own tree. So the course has been extremely helpful for me, and I love how you made it into 3 days, but you do mention take as much time as you need. I mean, you don't have to do it for 3 days, so that helped me a lot because I wasn't able to do the back to back, but I did, start with the first day, which was like building your sanctuary. So creating my sanctuary and seeing my tree, and the imagery that you use within your meditation is beautiful. It's just makes it more alive and vivid for me. So I really enjoyed that. And I did the meditations and the videos midday. So in the mornings, I deal with like dropping off my kids, and I still have my baby, and so I take care of her, and then all the pickups. So just a lot of rushing around. So midday is my time where they're napping, and so that's when I did the meditation just to recenter, regroup, um, and get my sense of calm again, because I feel like I'm just constantly on the go 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 and just dealing with the ups and downs of my kids not wanting to go to school, my daughter needing my full-time attention when I'm trying to cook and get the house stuff done, but also looking at emails for my practice and making sure that I'm catering to my clients as well. So it's just a lot of different things going on. So for me, that time when they're napping is like essential, and so utilizing your meditation was extremely helpful to reground myself, essentially, so that I can be back to me before I go back to them and their emotions, and dealing with whatever it is that's happening for the day. And then the next course is the cord cutting, which is really huge for me because I have my boundaries is a little bit, has a little bit of a kind of goes with the kids sometimes, especially, and then those that I'm close to, like family members, my husband, and I tend to feel what they feel. And so it's hard for me to kind of sometimes realize, okay, that's not mine, this is yours. And realize and not try to absorb their emotions. So the cord cutting is beautiful because then I can connect with their energy in my safe sanctuary and know that, okay, I can connect you back with their own personal tree, because you did share with me that each of them has their own tree, and I'm there to help guide them but not necessarily give my energy to them. So it's just remembering that, and then doing that exercise when I need to, and to remind myself that they are their own individual planet, their own earth, they have their own tree, and they can lean on their tree, and I'm there to support them but not necessarily give them my energy. So that was huge, a huge for me, because I'm the kind of like, I like to give, 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 give. And that's still something that I'm working on, because as a mom, for me, that's what I've seen. It's what also like just nature wise that I just want to give and give. So that cord cutting exercise was really helpful in realizing
Mhm.
what's my energy and what's their energy.
Yeah, and sometimes I hear them on the background and I so admire you because it's super hard, when we
Yeah.
have these small kids and they're crying, they're sick, there's so
Mm-hmm.
much going on, we're tired, we're physically like tuned into them to set these boundaries. Is just an extra level of difficulty, I believe, those of us dealing with kids and kids that are upset and have big emotions. And it's
Yes.
wonderful that yours do and they feel safe, but you gotta be able to hold your own. So I
Yeah.
really admire you. And also what is so typical for us when we're under stress and challenged and feel like we don't have all our ducks in a row and we're not on top of everything, to retreat is one of the last things we want to do. We just
Yes.
want to take
Yeah.
care of everything, get everybody quiet, get everybody settled.
Yeah.
And for you to have learned that you need to retreat and take care of yourself and ground yourself to every day to get to a place where you can better manage that, I think is also key, because I can't make you do that, right? I have
Yes. You're
tools,
not
but
there. I wish you were.
I mean, I have these tools there, and there's lots of people, they're just like, I have no time, I got to do this first before I can indulge in that. But it's
Yeah.
almost like, I love how you're doing it, because you're not even approaching it as an indulgence, as a necessity for
Yes.
your day. Because then on top of that, what Nicole does, the business, I mean, she's not also in a nutrition
Yes.
course, right? And then
Yeah.
some of that business stuff doesn't even start till the kids are in bed.
Exactly. Yes. You told me, so you, after all of that, then you go do school stuff and you do your business. Yes. I said
Yeah.
yes.
I don't even know how she stays awake. I'm like, yeah, just listening to like, wow. But okay, so tell us more how working with the fire elements on the third days. There's many different ways to work with each of the elements, but I particularly focused on fire because I feel like so many of us in today's society, I mean, we're just suffering all from a collective soul loss, which is the loss of fire, the loss of energy, the loss of connection to source, but also due to our inability to set really fierce limits, because it's not
Mhm.
just knowing where you begin and end. We are usually dealing with lots of negative repercussions and
Mhm.
expectations, and getting over, not just getting over, like really healing from patterns where it was not okay to set those limits. So tell us a little bit about your story in terms of working with fire and how it helped you.
Yes. So for me, fire, I just always seen it as like red, like a red color, like something that's negative, like you said, like in a negative connotation. And so understanding it as my body telling me that there's some sort of cycle, some sort of pattern, or some sort of nourishment that my body needs or myself needs, rather than seeing it as, a negative part, has helped quite a bit. Because when I notice like my agitation starts, growing, or my impatience starts, those are like my flags. Okay, those are my triggers. Okay, what am I missing? Where am I not fulfilling myself? So I've started to see, okay, when I'm not getting time to myself because I'm, doing so spread so thin constantly, and when I don't get time to do actually that something that I find joy in just for me, or getting time for my own self just by myself, that's when the agitation, that anger starts building up and that fire energy starts coming. And so I've learned when I start doing that, okay, I need to communicate with my partner and, or my children sometimes, and just like maybe like give them an iPad if I need to, or just something, or put on the screen, just so I can get a minute to myself, so that I don't, my fire becomes intense and then it comes onto them, rather than, and not being more of an, effective approach. So for me, I found it that, lately it's been, I just needing that time to myself. So that's where I've learned to use the fire energy. And when I start seeing these feelings, and then, and start growing them, then I know, okay, I need to start communicating. I need to say I need an hour in the morning, which I have been. I say I need an hour, at least an hour
Yes.
Saturday, Sunday to myself first thing in the morning, so I can just get a minute, because then I
Yeah.
just notice like the fire energy just is very intense.
Yeah. And what I'm also thinking, it's so tricky because um when we do hold that fire, that energy, that the anger in a negative light, it also shows up in a funky wonky sort of way
Mhm.
when we do ask for
Yeah.
what we need. And it seems to me that you really coming to terms with that and honoring that fire and that anger as your best friend or as an ally has
Mhm.
helped you sort of be in a peaceful relationship with it, which then translates to, I think, in how you're asking for help, and that being people responding in a more positive way to that,
Yeah.
um, from the journey and from what you've told me. So maybe you could say a little bit about that. What changes have you seen in terms of your relationship with fire changing, and with your anger and your needs really honoring them, and how that then has affected your relationship to others and with others?
I think with my perspective changing with fire, it's helped to be more of an observer during times when there is that conflict. So it's really helped, instead of, I feel like, before I would just kind of go at it too, just like, fireballs. I just imagine like fireballs throwing, just like words and, feeling, just everything coming out. But now, like, just taking a step back and like being the observer, and then that's helped quite a bit. And instead of just, and like, you said this in our session, like sometimes you can't just journal. Sometimes you can't just, escape for like to go journal or do something so long, like it's like in the moment. And so that's why it's helped for me, especially to go back to my tree. And I literally, every time I have conflicts with those around me, and intensity is high and I can feel the fires, going everywhere, I imagine my tree and I imagine my feet deep down, rooting down, and I just stay rooted and I observe. And I've like really learned to do that, instead of, my first go-to is just to lash out or absorb, or just, get involved with other, the other person who's having that intense fire as well. So
Mhm.
I've really utilized the tree energy so much, and it's been so um it's just like been so good to me to just focus and connect, and just like I literally just ground myself. And when my children are having their, really intense emotions, I ground myself and I just
Mhm.
like hold them if I can. If they're throwing their bodies, just, and you've told me this as a nice technique is to sing. And so I've been like singing. Sometimes it doesn't come through, but I just sing and sing, and then it comes to me too. And so and sometimes I just keep going. And so
Yeah.
that's been really helpful.
Yeah, and what happens after the fact is we're not just staying there, right? Sometimes
Yeah.
that fire is because we are motivated towards the resolution. We want some peace, some harmony, some realignment. So the grounding and the singing, all that is not like the end all be all. It's not that we're stopping there. It's just the pause, and to
Yeah.
help everybody sort of get from these flooded states back into like a window that is more maneuverable, manageable. So what happens after you grounded, after you sung, after everybody's calmed down, that anger and that energy is still there, but maybe not so flared up. But
Yes.
we're learning to manage it differently, translate it in words. So what do you do with that? What skills have you learned?
So once, once for my children specifically, like once they've kind of, it's there's no more thrashing of the body or screaming, it's a little bit more of a calmer space. I just hold like hold them, and it just, stay grounded with them, and just kind of so that they can feel my, because they definitely could feel my energy, and they, so I just want to just want them to feel, that they're safe and just like held. And then once, that's past and we'll talk about what happened, but ways to help manage that, whatever it is that they got upset about. But it's just, for me, it's just like I've just held on to them, just made them know that they're safe.
Yeah. And what I really appreciate, because you do have a 1-year-old, a 2-year-old, a 4-year-old, and a 40-year-old, I think, is all the different levels of communication, right?
Yes. Yeah.
And sometimes words, sometimes body language, but
Yeah.
translating this fire, this anger that you're feeling, knowing how to tap into it and going to the need underneath that, whether, for the kids, it's, role modeling even for them,
Yes. Yes.
how to express that need for them, but also your need, that what mommy needs at this moment, and what we all need is to first calm down, and whatever that might be, however they can understand that. But also, I think, to your husband, in having them greater clarity, less resentment,
Yeah.
and more successes, right, in terms of what it is you need, and that you can all also celebrate these successes together, rather than him being the adversary, or not being on the same team as you are. Maybe that would be helpful for us to know a little bit too, how you've done with that in terms of communicating your needs to your husband, and what differences you've seen there.
So for me, I think it was, the idea of which you shared with me is differentiation. I think that's the word that you shared, is just like understanding, he has his own way of doing certain things, and then I have my own way. And so not just knowing that he has his own way of being, and then mine is my own, and not blending them together, and that it's okay, that and everything is going to work, he's going to do what he needs to do to get things done, and that I will be okay, and it's not going to affect me negatively. So it's just setting those boundaries and understanding those limits, and then also communicating. We've been trying to do a better job of communicating with each other before the fire starts building up. So communicating before it starts really getting to a place where there's anger, like pushing things down. So we've gotten better about speaking more in a more clear way. And then sometimes, though, we still have these arguments, and he'll walk away, like just step away from the situation, or else, step away from the situation just so we can get a break and then come back to it later. So that's been really helpful.
Yeah. So what I'm thinking, and I hope others who take the course will also learn, is, not to take the differences personal.
Yes.
But sometimes we get offended just because somebody is not getting us exactly as we are, doing it differently, and we think it's a sign of them not caring, or a sign of being disrespectful, or whatever that might be, while it's just the person being different, and learning to appreciate the differentness, and really communicate more clearly what about those differences, so we each understand and can even appreciate and acknowledge, celebrate those differences, and then seeing how we can come together so that everybody's needs are being met. So yes, in just 3 days, and 3 short meditations, and short video presentations, I hope to convey the key core lessons, what Nicole just described, and hope that our people on there listening today will also give it a shot. And I'm trying to find out if this is actually broadcasting, and I'm not seeing it on my phone. I see it kind of frozen on my laptop, so we'll have to see, Nicole, if it went through. Otherwise, we'll
It says
just post
live
it.
on mine.
It does say live, but on my phone and on my desk we're frozen.
Oh,
So
okay.
but that's not a problem at all. We will share the recording. I have it recorded here. So thank you so much. Thank you so much for sharing your wisdom and sharing your great energy and all that you've learned in the mini course.
Yeah, thank you for putting the course together in such, it's very like compactable and so accessible way, in an understanding way. So thank you for putting that together. I appreciate it.
Oh, you're very welcome. All right, here we go.